Hello viewers, today we are going to do the lesson Voluntary Poverty by M.K. Gandhi. First let us know what voluntary means. As you all know the meaning of poverty, but voluntary is willingly accepting the things that has to be done. And here while doing this lesson, we will look into three objectives. One is to get to know the moral philosophy of Gandhi as evident in the speech. Second is to study the prose style of a well-known writers of English prose. And third is to see how relevant Gandhi's ideas are in the post-independent India. Now, looking into voluntary poverty, this lesson is a speech delivered by Gandhi at the Guildhall, London on 23rd September 1931. Originally appearing in the speeches and writings of Gandhi, it is a piece where Gandhi explains his reasons and intentions for his woe of poverty. He talks about the value and sacredness of poverty, especially for a politician and public worker. This doctrine of renunciation is derived from Hindu teaching, but as developed by Gandhi, it becomes Christian, recalling to us the teachings of Jesus and Tolstoy. The language in many places reminds us of the parables and the teachings of Jesus Christ. Let us know something about the author. Mohandas Gandhi is well known as a political activist, a pacifist who played a key role in achieving India's independence from Great Britain. Although born in Porbandar, he was given a modern education and eventually studied law in London. After returning briefly to India, Gandhi went back to South Africa in 1893, where he spent the next 20 years working to secure Indian rights. It was during this time that he experimented with and developed his basic philosophy of life. Philosophically, Gandhi is best known for his ideas of satyagraha, that is truth force, and ahimsa, that is non-harming. Intrinsic to the idea of truth force is the correlation between truth and being. Truth is not merely a mental correspondence with reality, but a mood of existence. Hence, the power of truth is not what one argues for, but what one is. He develops this idea in conjunction with the principles of non-violence, showing his nationalistic activities that the force of truth expressed non-violently can be an irresistible political weapon against intolerance, racism, and social violence. Although his basic terminology and conceptual texts were Hindu, Gandhi was impressed by the universal religious emphasis on the self-transformation, that is power of love, drawing his inspiration from Christianity, Western philosophy, and Islam as well. Gandhi uses a unique discourse in his speeches and writings. Then let us know what is discourse. Discourse, which is diversely used in social, political, religious, and philosophical context, is a series of views expressed over an important subject concerning people, calling for a solution by influencing the minds of those to whom it is addressed. The preliminary definition of discourse is a particular way of talking about and understanding the world or an aspect of the world. In any analysis, Two dimensions of discourse are important focal points. One is the communicative event, that is, an instance of language use such as a newspaper article, a film, a video, an interview, or a political speech or a legal argument. And the other is the order of discourse, that is, the configuration of all the discourse types which are used within a social institution or a social field. Discourse types consist of discourse and generes. Here we are going to learn from the speech of Gandhi that to achieve our goals, we need to sacrifice many things. Gandhi talks about the values and sacredness of poverty, especially for a politician and a public worker. This speech is relevant to today's time because many of our politicians and public workers are entering into this field only for their personal gain. This discourse will be an eye-opener for today's generation who are more selfish not only in the field of public work but in all fields. This speech will attempt to describe Gandhi's philosophy in as simple a way as possible. Inevitably, this must be a personal interpretation, but I hope it has some merit. Need is emphasized rather than greed, concentrating where India is concerned first on the eradication of poverty. Gandhian philosophy consists of the religious and social ideas adopted and developed by Gandhi. First, during his period in South Africa from 1893 to 1914, and later, of course, in India. These ideas have been further developed by later Gandhians, mostly notably in India, Vinoba Bhave and Jayaprakash Narayan. Outside of India, some of the works of, for example, Martin Luther King Jr. can also be viewed in this site. The twin cardinal principles of Gandhi's thoughts are truth and non-violence. As observed, Gandhi's thought is equally a philosophy of self-transformation. The individual's task is to make a sincere attempt to live according to the principles of truth and non-violence. Its fundamental tenets are therefore moral. They include resisting injustice, developing a spirit of service, selflessness and sacrifice, emphasizing one's responsibility rather than rights, self-discipline, simplicity of life, and attempting to maintain truthful and non-violent relations with others. It should be understood that by simplicity it meant voluntary simplicity, not poverty, which has no element of voluntarism in it. If there is one thing Gandhi does not stand for, it is poverty. Let us look into the lesson and see, when Gandhi found himself drawn towards politics, he was in confusion. The first and foremost necessity to him was to remain absolutely untouched by the immorality, untruth and political gain. It was very difficult for him to do so. This was not a simple task. He said it was a difficult struggle in the beginning and created a conflict with his wife and children as well. But if he had to serve the people in whose midst his life can cast and whose difficulties he was to witness from day to day, he must discard all wealth and all possessions. When Gandhi decided to do so, he did not do it immediately. He confessed that first, the process was slow. but later when he conquered poverty voluntarily, recalled those earlier days of struggle. They were so painful in the beginning, but slowly he discarded all those things which he thought were his and felt as though a great burden has been removed from his shoulders. He could walk with ease and do his work with great comfort and joy. He started feeling burdened and troublesome whenever he possessed anything. Exploring the cause of that joy, Gandhi found that if he had something of his own, he had to defend it against the whole world. Also, there were many people who were in need of that thing which he had. To protect it, he had to take police assistance. People with hunger may find him in a lonely place, can harm him to take his position from him. And people who do this because they were in need of it more than he. So Gandhi felt that the possession of something is a crime, and therefore the only thing that can be possessed by all is non-possession. Not to have anything, a willing surrender. To justify this point on willing surrender, Gandhi explains, if someone taunts him, that means they have superficially understood the meaning of his words. He said, the spirit behind the words has to be looked into. Every individual has a body, and one has to have something to cover the body with. But that doesn't mean that he has to decorate it with more than what is needed. You need a house for shelter, but not many mansions, and similarly with food. Food, clothing and shelter are the basic need of every human being. This need should not be changed into greed only because we have the opportunity. Gandhi shows the practical daily conflict between what we understand today as civilization and the state which Gandhi drew for us as a state of bliss and a desirable state. On the other hand, the basic of culture or civilization is understood to be the multiplication of all our wants. For instance, a person who has one room desires to have 2 rooms, 3 rooms, and the more the merrier. He is happy for having more. Similarly, with furniture, this is endless, and the more we possess, the better culture we are supposed to represent, or some such thing. But Gandhi was not talking of his civilization. He, on the other hand, believed that the less we possess, the less we want, and the better we are. But better for what? Not for enjoyment of his life, but for enjoyment of his service of our fellow beings. To this, we need to dedicate ourselves, body, soul, and mind. He articulated that even the body is not ours. It has been given to us temporarily possession, and it can also be taken from us by God, who has given it to us. Therefore, Gandhi taught that by having absolute faith in God, a person's constant desire is that this body also may be surrendered at the will of God, and while it is at this disposal, must be used not for dispassion, not for self-indulgence, not for pleasure, but merely for service. This is true with reference to the body. How much more with reference to clothing and many other things that we use. Gandhi further says, those who actually followed this vow of voluntary poverty to the fullest extent possible, those who have reached the ideal state, testify that when you are disposers of everything you have, you really possess all the treasures of the world, and that is to say, you really get all that is in reality necessary for you. Everything, like food is necessary, food will come to you. Gandhi, addressing a Western Christian audience, asked them to have no thought for the morrow. Gandhi recalls the teachings of Christ, that is, the doctrine of renunciation. All men and women pray, and it is heard from very many Christian lips that their prayers are answered. They get everything in their answer to their prayers. Gandhi also believes in this and advised them to experience the feel of service. He wanted them to join with him and go a step further and believe with him that those who voluntarily give up everything on earth, including the body, and are in readiness to give up everything to get great rewards. People must examine themselves critically, rigidly, and be very strict with themselves. Then they will know that they really don't need anything. He concludes his speech by encouraging the audience to embrace voluntary poverty with sincerity. God is the hardest taskmaster on this earth, and He protects us all the time. When we find that our faith is wearing and our body is failing us, we are sinking, He comes for our assistance somehow and proves to us that we must not lose faith, and He is ready for our every call, but on His terms, not on our terms. This is what Gandhi has found from his experience. He recalls that God was always with him, and He invariably came to his rescue at the 11th hour, not only in content, but this essay shows the excellent prose style of Gandhi, the logical argument supporting the theme, the well-organized points, and the simple language that he has used in the writing are commendable. So, well learners, today we have learnt the prose style of writing from Gandhi's speech, and we have also understood his moral philosophy. His moral philosophy is truth, that is satyagraha and ahimsa. And the third one, the relevance of Gandhi's speech in today's time. Today, as we are seeing, the society is moving in a different way of what Gandhi has said. We all, as you all, are going to be the tomorrow's citizens. This lesson is also going to help you as a personality development lesson, because if you accept the ideas given by Gandhi and inculcate that into your life, you are going to be a successful person not only into your field that you are going to choose, but also into your life. And ultimately, life is nothing but happiness, and happiness can be achieved only with voluntary poverty. As students, we have to accept voluntary poverty. If you start from day one now, if you take this example and continue this in your life, you are going to be a successful person in your life.